go live button, which means we've got to wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plains of the internet. And it looks like the intertubes are connecting themselves, which is very good news. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney here at the R&R Law Group. We're located in the always beautiful and sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. And boy, oh boy, is it sunny here. It's 108. I think next week it's going to be 111. And we're melting. We're melting to death. But that doesn't stop us from having to unpack all of the tomfoolery going on out there around the world today. Let me give you some highlights and share with you what is in store for the show today. Look at this mind map. Now, if you want to follow along at home, you can check this out at j6mindmap.com. And so let me drop this in the chat because there are some good things to go over here today. And so boom, that is dropped in the chat, j6mindmap.com. Hopefully I got that in there accurate. But let's take a look now at some of the things that we're talking about. So first and foremost, we do have some criminal case updates. We spent yesterday talking about the farmers in the Netherlands and the battle that they are waging. And so we've got sort of a little bit of a changing back to some of the J6 stuff today because there was a lot going on. The Bannon case has some pretty significant updates because remember, we are scheduled for trial coming in hot next week, I believe. Is it next week? Let me look at the calendar. It's going to be on the 18th. No, it's Monday, not next week. It's a week from, not next week, but the following Monday is when Bannon's trial is scheduled. But we do have oral arguments, which are going to be scheduled for Monday. So next week on Monday, tomorrow is Friday. It's a short week. I'm all discombobulated. Tomorrow is Friday. And then that upcoming Monday is going to be oral arguments. And there's motions flying all over the place in the Steve Bannon case. Bannon's lawyers, they want to know why the January 6th Select Committee is not charging other people like Mark Meadows and Scavino. And so they filed additional motions on that. We'll unpack that. There was a motion to continue the trial that was filed. The government prosecutors initiated another response. There's a quick update in the Proudboys case. We do have a scheduling order, so we're going to take a look at that and see how that is going to coincide. Because remember, there's a scheduling issue with the Proudboys. They know that they are the subject of the J6 sham committee hearing. And so they're saying, how can we possibly have a trial in parallel with this fake scam hearing that is taking place? It doesn't seem like that makes any sense at all. So we're going to have updates on those, but we'll save those for the end of the program because those are a little bit of heavy lifting objects. Here, instead, we're going to get started with a couple very interesting things. Cassidy Hutchinson. We spent last several shows talking about this surprise hearing that came out. They dropped this on America on June 28th, 2022. And boy, oh boy, is there a lot of fallout on this thing. Rebuttals galore. We've covered many of them talking about the so-called assault that she said occurred when Donald Trump allegedly assaulted the Secret Service when they wouldn't take him to the Capitol. We have the note that she says, I wrote the note. I promise I wrote it. She says, remember this note? Well, it turns out she didn't. Eric Hirschman, the creepy panda guy, who the committee loved, he says, I actually wrote that note, right? Remember that? We got up to speed on that. He said, I wrote it. And the committee now is having to really patch over a lot of this problem. But the Secret Service, as we're going to see today, came out and they said that allegation from Cassidy did not happen. Didn't happen. So they're doubling down on this. We'll familiarize ourselves with who Tony Ornato is. And then we'll take a look because CNN is now asking a very pertinent question. Is the committee going to subpoena Ornato or Engels to come up and clarify this issue for us? Because they've been subpoenaing everybody out the wazoo. And now the question is, why don't they subpoena them to come clarify this? And CNN is wondering. Maybe it's because they don't want any clarity on it because it's going to make them look like dumb fools. We also know since the last time that we had an update here that the committee subpoenaed Pat Cippolone. Pat Cippolone was actually one of the lawyers who represented Donald Trump in one of the impeachments. I think it was the second impeachment. The committee sent out a subpoena to him. We'll take a look at that. And then apparently he is going to be sitting down with them tomorrow on Friday to do a recorded, transcribed interview. And I'll be very curious to know if we're going to get copies of that. He came up when Cassidy Hutchinson was testifying. He was apparently supposed to be there earlier. And so we will unpack that. Donald Trump and Truth Social were under a little bit of a microscope from Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren sent a letter last, I think, November over to the Trump companies. And they said, hey, you know, basically Elizabeth Warren wants to utilize the SEC and the levers of government to go after her political enemies. And she sent a letter over to the SEC saying, hey, can you guys go and investigate Donald Trump? And it turns out they did. So Truth Social came out and they posted this SEC filing. Trump apparently left the organization. We'll touch on some of that quickly. But I think first and foremost, we do need to talk about this really sneaky business. So we're going to start here. This really, really sneaky business that Adam Schiff is trying to shove down everybody's gullet before they get thrown out of power. We are going to unpack all of that, but I have first things first. I got to take care of something in the chat. Very, very important here. Okay, I think that has been addressed. Okay, done. Boom. K Bean has notified me that Lean has to be made a moderator, and that has been decided. Power has been delegated henceforth. Lean, we're relying on you, Lean. Deliver us to the promised land, Lean. Thank you. Okay, so that has been taken care of. Now we are going to go and take a look at Adam Schiff. Now, Julie Kelly over from American Greatness, she posted this like I was skidding before the show started, and she posted this, and I was piecing this all together. And boy, we're going to have to start here with what Adam Schiff is trying to do to us. Very, very sneaky business. But before we get to any of that, my friends, I want to invite you to be a part of the show by joining us over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We've got a chat taking place over there. And it's the best place to be in the whole planet. Let's see who's chatting away over here. Well, I just clicked the wrong. Okay, there it is. Jumpin' Jeff is in the house. We have Rick's Sick of BS is here. JC the Music Man, shout out to Zach Nichols in the house, and they're all chatting away over there saying, what's up, Rob? Bonnie Speck is in there as well. But that's where you can join in on the fun. You can also join up on YouTube and support the work that we're doing here by clicking that join button. And it's right next to the subscribe button if you have not already subscribed. But it would be awesome if you joined us. Stace on the case is here. She's a member. K Bean is in the house. She's a member. And let's see, is there anybody else here who's Curtis Bartle is here. Shout out to Curtis Bartle. He's a member. And we're really grateful for that. We're doing morning walk and talks, about 20 to 30 minute additional videos that go live basically every morning. Tomorrow morning is going to be a little bit later in the day. Forewarning on that one. But it's been a lot of fun, just sort of carrying on the conversation after the show. And so if you want to poke around and get some of that more kind of exclusive content, I'd love it if you joined. Don't forget, my friends, that we are really focused now on the R&R Law Group. In my spare time, I'm doing a ton of content for our law firm. And so if you want to check out Arizona law, I made 2 videos about some new laws that came out here. Today, we learned that it's now illegal to film police if you're within 8 feet of them in the state of Arizona. It's going to be a big issue. You know, police are going to say, well, my 8 feet is a little bit different than your 8 feet. And so I made videos on some new bills that were signed. And so we're really trying, the firm is mature enough now. We could use your help. Send your referrals our way. We'll make sure we take good care of them. We have a mission to help good people charged with crime find safety, clarity, and hope. And we look forward to helping your referrals. But that, my friends, is how you can support our work. Now it's time to get into old pencil neck shifty Schiff, the watermelon head, the guy who is trying to kind of enclose his nefariousness behind a force field that makes it very difficult for Republicans to get. Okay, Schiff has been in this role for quite some time now, and he knows that his time is about up. Republicans are going to be in charge very soon, and he is doing what he can to sort of pull the ladder up so the Republicans don't have the same tools that he has when the Republicans are in charge. Okay, a big part of the conversation that we've had here for some time was when the Republicans get in charge, they're going to be able to swing the lever of power back over their direction and utilize the same tools that the Democrats are exploiting right now. kind of the old what's good for the goose is good for the gander type of saying, right? If the Democrats are doing it, the Republicans are going to do it too. But Adam Schiff is trying to stop that from happening. Let me share with you what I am talking about. So I just captured this today from Julie Kelly. She's over on Twitter, so please be sure to go follow her. She's doing great work on all of this stuff. And she posted today, 5 hours ago, or whenever I clip this, breaking: Schiff files amendment to the NDAA that would conceal any info collected by the U.S. military for use in congressional investigations or court proceedings. Okay. Massive attempted cover-up, she says, of enormous proportions and a preemptive power grab to prevent GOP oversight next year. Now, I'm going to show you what this says, and we're going to unpack this a little bit. But Julie Kelly gives us a little bit more explanation. She says, think about this. Think about what this means. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin can decline any request for materials related to, for example, the deadly Afghanistan withdrawal, woke policies, any injuries from any of the mandates, and January 6th, among other issues. So, for example, she says, GOP committees would be prevented from examining the military's role in the events of January 6th, including the use of assets before and on that day, as well as the use of intelligence services like the NCIS, which of course we know were a part of the investigatory process. She says here in gigantic capital letters, what are they hiding? Good question. I have a lot of questions about that. Now here, let's take a look at what she actually clipped for us. This is what it looks like: an amendment to rules, the committee print 117-54, offered by Mr. Schiff of California. Now here's what it says. Section 5. Exclusion of evidence obtained without prior authorization. Now, a lot of this is not going to make any sense because we're sort of looking at a snippet, right? This is something that they're saying, let's make an amendment. The law exists already under U.S. code, but we want to add this amendment to it. I want to insert this little bit of data here. And here's what it says. Notwithstanding any other provision of the law, any information obtained by or with the assistance of a member of the armed forces in violation of section 1385. Okay, now put a pin in this. This is Posse Commitatus. Okay, this is a different provision of the law that says that the military can't be used for civilian purposes. Okay, we don't want to create military posses that go around and sort of enact civilian oversight over the people. And so what Schiff is doing is he's saying, okay, if Congress here tries to go get evidence from the military, we're going to use this sort of antiquated rule, Posse Commitatus, to say that Congress can't go and investigate those things. Now, I think this is unconstitutional, but you can see what he's trying to do. Let's watch this. Notwithstanding this, any information obtained by or with the assistance of a member of the armed forces in violation of Posse Comitatus shall not be received in evidence in any trial, any hearing, or any proceeding before any court, grand jury, department, officer, agency, regulatory body, legislative committee, or other authority under the United States. In other words, military data cannot come out and be used in any of those things. See that right there? Legislative committee, legislative committees. You can't use it. Saying that if this information is being gathered to sort of violate Posse Comitatus, then that information cannot be disclosed. So it's like the Democrats got in, they got all of the goodies, and they're closing the door. They're not letting the Republicans use the same tools that they used. So let's take a look now at what Section 1385 says. Here it is. 18 U.S. Code 1385. It says, whoever, except in cases and under circumstances expressly authorized, willfully uses any part of the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, Air Force, Space Force as a Posse Comitatus or otherwise to execute laws shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for 2 years or both. Right? This is the provision. Now, I know this is an old phrase. It's sort of an antiquated law. It's something that is not, very relevant in most situations. But this is saying, think of it like a posse. Think of it like if there's a situation where there's a civilian population and we need somebody to go in there and, get rid of a bunch of outlaws or something, right? You might form a posse to go out there and deal with those outlaws, right? Well, the problem is what if you have an official military and you have an official civilian population? You don't want a conflation of the two, right? You don't want the military to suddenly act like a civilian police force. So here it's saying, if anybody uses a part of the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, or any of those things as a posse, like if the Republicans come in here and they try to go after the military and say, well, hey, military, why don't you disclose a bunch of information to us about J6, about mandates, about Afghanistan, about wokeness in the military, and all. Why don't you disclose all of that to us so that we can go and do our investigation? Well, what Adam Schiff, his argument is that is in violation of Posse Comitatus. He's making the argument saying that the Republicans are going to be trying to commandeer the military, which is the military, for civilian enforcement. Saying the Republicans are going to go try to open the door, crack the shell in the military to go and investigate who? Schiff and Cheney and crying Adam Kinzinger and slippery Jamie Raskin, right? All of these people are now in the civilian world, and they're saying we can't let those Republicans cross that line, cross that threshold, go get access to the military, and then use that data to come and prosecute us. They're saying it's crossing the streams. You remember in Ghostbusters? You don't cross the streams until you have to cross the streams. And so Schiff is saying you have to separate these two things. Now, it's specifically being inserted, of course, because they don't want you to go look up what they did. They don't want you to see this stuff or be able to use it in a legislative committee. Here's an example. This came over, I think, from the Brennan Center. So I see some people in the chat were asking a little bit about this. The Posse Comitatus Act was passed in 1878 after the end of Reconstruction and the return of white supremacists, right, in political power. Through the law, Congress sought to ensure the military would not be used to intervene in the establishment of Jim Crow in the former Confederacy. Now, it says the broader principle that the military should not be allowed to interfere in the United States is a core American value, saying that all of this needs to be separated. Today, the Posse Comitatus Act operates as an extension of these constitutional safeguards, saying that you can't be used to, you can't use the military for certain things. So now they're trying to basically stop the data from being accessible. Any evidence, they say, any information that comes out shall not be received by the incoming Republicans. Very, very sneaky, very nefarious. These Democrats, you got to watch them. You can't, they're slippery. You got to be careful with them. That's why he's called Shifty Pencil Neck Shift. So here, all right, be cognizant of that, and shout out to Julie Kelly for blasting that all over the Twitterverse, because my goodness, absolutely critical to pay attention to that. And I've said this, right? They're being very, very good with their legal maneuvering. They've got Mark Elias and many others who are already laying the groundwork for elections. Now, as always, let's do a quick reminder and understand why this committee is so illegal and garbage. As usual, we go over just to the simple text of the bill. You don't even really need to be hardly literate to put this together. If you can read like a sentence, the speaker shall appoint 13 members to the committee. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 words there in that phrase. Okay, it's totally basic. Even Big Jugs Nancy Pelosi should be able to figure this one out. Shall appoint 13 members. Guess what? There aren't 13 members on there. Not even close. And 5 of whom shall be appointed after consultation with the minority leader. They're not. Therefore, this committee is illegally constituted, in my opinion. And I have not seen any court of law rule in a written order otherwise. I've not seen one written order anywhere explaining why this committee is legally justified. Not one. I'd love to see it. If anybody has one, I'd love to see it. Please send one to me. Please. I'll shut up about this. I'll shut up. But there isn't a good argument for it because it's clear. It's written there in HR 503. But I'll shut up. I will. I'll shut up. Please send it to me so I shut up about this. Okay. Now, that is some of the nonsense. We've already talked about episode 1 in the season premiere. We're going to close up Shifty Schiff and the illegal committee. We're also going to go back down here and now shift over to Shifty Schiff now. We're going to shift away from Schiff and talk about this surprise hearing that we left off on some time ago, because the Secret Service is now out and they are rebutting, doubling down, saying that old Cassidy Hutchinson is a liar. A liar. Now, for a quick recap on this, remember that old Cassidy said that Donald Trump assaulted somebody in the Secret Service, saying that, well, here's the video of her, right?
Both before and
actually, we're not going to listen to it. It's 3 minutes. I really don't care all that much. But she said when Donald Trump was in the Secret Service, it's not the Beast, right? The Beast is the limo. It's an SUV. Driving away, reached over and assaulted the Secret Service agent and said, do you know who I am? I'm El Trumpo. Take me to the Capitol building or else, buddy boy. And the Secret Service agent apparently didn't do that. And the story goes that all of this got communicated back to this guy, Tony Ornato. Tony Ornato, as we can see, is somebody who is, I got this link pulled up. Let's grab this one. Tony Ornato, we haven't spent much time talking about him, but he is currently, this is over from the Federal Law Enforcement Training Accreditation website, so FLETA.gov. And they tell us, Ornato currently serves as the Assistant Director of the United States Secret Service Office of Training. In this position, he administers enterprise-wide oversight of structured policies. He received details of the White House, served as the Assistant to the President, Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations. In total, organization, 5,000 employees, budget of $800 million. Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations, Ornato has authority over the budget. Okay, the guy is like Secret Service extraordinaire. Okay, so you got to imagine like 25 years law enforcement experience, 23 years with the U.S. Secret Service, 2 years City of Westboro Police Office, or Waterbury in Connecticut. Commissioned Special Agent. Also served on the Presidential Protective Division, protected George Bush, protected Barack Obama. Okay? So he protected Barack Obama. Now, what we have seen, Adam Schiff called this guy a liar. Everybody's saying he's Trump's right-wing boogeyman. And they're having to smear this guy because their story is not true. It's not accurate. So remember, if we follow the chain of causation a little bit on this, we can sort of piece this together. The story goes that Tony Ornato, because he works in the Secret Service, must have heard from somebody in Trump's van that Trump assaulted him. And so he gets back and he has this meeting with Cassidy Hutchinson. And he says, Cassidy, listen, you're not going to believe it. Trump's a maniac. Trump assaulted Secret Service people. And so Cassidy Hutchinson then now communicates that to the American people. Okay, so we're sort of following the chain. It goes from the vehicle to Tony to Cassidy. All right. Well, if it's not true, okay, if we can't get any of the driver or anybody else in the vehicle to corroborate this, then where is the lie percolating? Where is it starting? Is it Tony made it up? This is just like a game of telephone that 8-year-olds play. Did the game of telephone, did the message, little Bobby ate a seashell, did that change when it went from the vehicle to Tony? Did he make something up there? Or was he being honest about what happened? And then there's another connection because it goes from Ornato over to Cassidy. And so there's another problem there, right? She may have heard something that he didn't say. He may have modified the facts as were told to him by the Secret Service drivers. And then she interprets it differently, and then she communicates it to the American people, okay? And now, so this is why we don't have hearsay, because it is totally unreliable by that point. Everybody who's 8 years old knows this. By the time you get little Bobby ate a seashell, it's like, something really bad. I didn't want to say it because you know how 8-year-olds are. But the point is, all sorts of areas where this could be a problem. Now, the real problem for the committee is they should have uncovered that. Right? They should have been able to see this conflict. Tony Ornato said this, and Cassidy Hutchinson said that, especially if it's for something as consequential as Donald Trump assaulting Secret Service people. Right? That's insane. Now, the other argument here, the other narrative is that this is irrelevant. This has nothing to do with anything. I see these law professors, actually, I think I have a video of this. Yeah, actually here, let's read this. So the Secret Service is now actually rebutting this. Okay, so this came out today from The Hill, published on July 7th. Written by Mike Lillis and Rebecca Bitch. I'm serious. I don't know how to say her last name. Sorry about that, Rebecca. Bitch. I think that's it. Secret Service denial of the Hutchinson story fuels attacks from both sides. Okay, now we're gonna read through some of this emotive conjugation here, because they're just writing this story in a way that's hysterical. But we close out Liz Cheney. The Hill tells us the Secret Service is doubling down on its denial of an alleged altercation between Trump and the Secret Service back on January 6th. Secret Service providing a rare defense of Trump's actions that day amid mounting evidence that he tried to orchestrate a coup. Right. So that sentence is sort of kind of useless, but okay. The extraordinary anecdote of a clash between the SUV recounted last week by Cassidy Hutchinson received outsized attention, which I totally disagree with. I think it's received the appropriate amount of attention, because if she's lying about this, she could be lying about everything else, right? And this is standard in the law. If you put a witness on the stand and you have a defense attorney come out and cross-examine that person, and that person is stumbling all over themselves and their story is twisted into a million pieces, they lose. The jury doesn't say, well, you know, that like 5-minute segment was like really bad, but she seems credible for everything else. Seems very trustworthy. Other than that, no, right? It shatters the entire witness. So it's the perfect amount of attention, because this was their surprise hearing. We didn't ask for this stupid hearing. It's their hearing. She was their star witness. What are you saying it's outsized attention for? They're sort of being pejorative. They're talking about people like me saying, you're making a way too much of this, Rob. The whole thing's pretty silly. The narrative that we're driving here, yeah, the narrative that she lied has sparked a quick denial from the agents involved, prompted Trump loyalists, which I am not, to attack Hutchinson's broader credibility. Everybody's attacking her credibility. You don't have to be a Trump loyalist to attack her credibility. My gosh. Hutchinson's broader credibility and frustrated Trump critics want to focus on the bigger picture, not least of all, Trump's desire to join hundreds of supporters in marching the Capitol. Through the back channels, the Secret Service has confirmed Trump's eagerness to join the protesters. They say here, there's a lot of what Hutchinson said is true. Certainly Trump did want to go to the Capitol. That much we know, says a source. But the agency has also pushed back on Hutchinson's account that Trump lunged for the steering wheel in the SUV, and then towards the neck of the Secret Service agent, Robert Engel. Okay, Robert Engel, remember? Remember what Cassidy told us? It was around the clavicle of the neck. Donald Trump was like pulling Jason Bourne. I think he was like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible or something. You know, and he's going to take over and drive to the Capitol. And he had Rudy Giuliani was taking over Air Force One. And I think Sidney Powell was in charge of the helicopter, Marine One. And they were all going to congregate and land at the Capitol. And I think, you know, Kash Patel was going to parachute out of something. I'm not real sure. But, you know, the whole thing was pretty wild. So all of this goes on. The acts of aggression were relayed to her at the White House by Tony Ornato, who upset Secret Service tradition. You see this? So he's sort of a liar now. Upset Secret Service tradition by temporarily serving as the deputy chief of staff. Engel was in the room during that conversation, but did not dispute it. Both Ornato and Engel, who remain active, have said they are willing to testify under oath, right? There you go. Willing to testify under oath to dispute the narrative. But we're going to see if they are called. Ornato is a red herring, says somebody else, noting that he was in the office at the time and not at the rally. There are 3 people in the vehicle: Bobby Engel, President Trump, and the limo driver. In denying the account, the traditionally taciturn Secret Service has stepped into a firestorm of political controversy, lending ammunition to Trump's allies, who are playing up the dispute in an effort to discredit all of her testimony. It should all be discredited. Here somebody says, the sham committee star witness is already discredited less than 24 hours, Jim Banks from Indiana. Somebody else says, here, this law professor, this is what I was talking about. Catherine Ross, a constitutional law professor at George Washington University Law School. What does she say? What does she tell us here? She's going to tell us here. it's really important to remember for people to focus on what is legally significant and not get distracted by the drama of stories about things like throwing plates or ketchup or whether the former president actually tried to grab the steering wheel and assault the head of the Secret Service, she says. She says none of that is material to the question of whether he should be indicted and whether he could be convicted. Well, look, I didn't go to Georgetown, admittedly, but I think it's pretty damn relevant. Okay, now she might be a lot smarter than me, or higher IQ or whatever or more sophisticated is probably the right way to phrase this. But her witness lied, and it sounds like it was an unintentional lie. And a pretty big material lie, in my opinion, because you don't get to come in and openly lie and then have the rest of your testimony be credible. And many people are saying that the reason that this was a surprise hearing, the reason why this committee dragged her in front of the American people on short notice, it's a surprise. Whoa. She's facing pressure, public pressure. You have to get this knowledge. All of that was to convince us that there was enough to lead to an indictment. Okay, the testimony from her that this college professor or whatever she is latching onto is that Trump knew that there were weapons. Trump wanted to go to the Capitol. Okay, in other words, Trump was participatory in the insurrection itself. It was more than Trump just standing up there and shouting about fight, 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 right? We're going to walk to the Capitol. I'll join you at the Capitol and we're going to fight like hell, right? That was the big damning language. That is obviously not enough because every other politician who's ever existed is on record talking with a lot of bravado about their election chances. Okay, it happens every season. So they need more than that. They need to connect this all to guns. Donald Trump knew that they were armed. And so that's why he told the Secret Service, just take their mags and let them come in. Okay, even though we didn't see any swaths of firearms lounging around at the Capitol building. Or they need to say that Donald Trump wanted to go and rally the insurrectionists, and that's why he almost took over the limo at the Capitol, right? But if they don't have those things, then it becomes a lot less likely that this could go towards an indictment. So they had to throw everything on this woman. And it turns out she's a liar. And this college professor from, university of whatever is now saying that that is inconsequential. It's people putting blinders on because they're political hacks. Hutchinson is not the only one under scrutiny. In the days since her testimony, a number of other Republicans are questioning the credibility of Ornato. One aide to former Vice President Pence pointed to Ornato refuting a Washington Post account about security. Those of us who work with Tony know where his loyalties lie. He should testify under oath. Alyssa Farah, former White House communications, also complained that Ornato denied a conversation. There seems to be a major thread here, said crying Adam Kinzinger. Tony Ornato likes to lie. You see this? Then what? Hey, dumb Adam, then why did you put a witness who was telling one of his stories to all of America? Why'd you do that? Seems like a pretty bad idea, doesn't it? So is that Tony's fault or is that your fault? It's your committee. You have the duty, the obligation to vet these things before you present them to us. So now Tony likes to lie. Somebody who's been a Secret Service agent for Bush, for Obama, he's a Trump acolyte, apparently. What a joke. So they're undermining their own witnesses, aren't they? And as we just saw from the Hill, the Secret Service is communicating to us, telling us that they're ready and willing. Yeah, they'd love to go in and testify. No problem at all. Here was the key bit of this entire article, talking specifically about the incident itself, where they say it just did not happen. I think I clipped it out. It's up here. Yeah, here it is. There are 3 people in the vehicle, Bobby Engel, President Trump, the source said, and both agents are saying that did not happen. You see that there? Both agents, Bobby Engel and the limo driver, both of them. That did not happen. So she's a liar, or Tony Ornato's a liar. I don't know. She also lied about her stinking her handwritten note. Okay. Anyone who entered the Capitol without proper authority should leave immediately. She says she wrote it. Doesn't look like to me she wrote it. That looks like a dude's handwriting. It looks like Eric Hirschman wrote that, right? And he says, I wrote that. So she's lying. Or she's just, I don't know, delusional. I mean, she might be like delusional. I don't know. Hopefully, maybe not. Hopefully they would vet and not put a delusional person up there. But there was another, a buffering over on our Rumble chat. I see her buffering one on Rumble. Says that's so crazy that she has to be a plant, right? A poison pill? Did they try to poison the whole pot? Did the Trumpers insert this little individual to go and sort of, oh yeah, I'm going to totally turn on Trump, no question. And then she botches the whole thing? I mean, I was thinking about that, but I can't imagine that. I mean, they put it in their teleprompter. Like, this wasn't a surprise, right? This wasn't like a big smoking gun. She didn't drop this in the middle of a hearing that was actually adversarial. This was all scripted. I mean, Liz Cheney literally, right? Watch her. Here it is. Here's the stupid clip. So
I remember Pat.
So she's talking about Pat Cippolone. Actually, this will be a good segue. We'll talk about Pat Cippolone next because Pat Cippolone just got a subpoena. But right, this all of her testimony, she testified multiple times here, and when Liz Cheney starts asking her questions, she's just reading from the teleprompter, has all of these quotes up. And here she's talking about Pat Cippolone.
I remember Pat saying something to the effect of, Mark, we need to do something more. They're literally calling for the vice president to be effing hung. And Mark had responded something to the effect of, you heard him, Pat. He thinks Mike deserves it. He doesn't think they're doing anything wrong. To which Pat said something, this is effing crazy. We need to be doing something more. Briefly stepped into Mark's office. And when Mark had said something to the effect of, he doesn't think they're doing anything wrong, knowing what I had heard briefly in the dining room, coupled with Pat discussing the hang Mike Pence chance.
Okay, so she, right, all conversations, all hearsay, and so, most of that, it doesn't matter because this is a kangaroo court. But the point is, we've got questions about other people. Now, as we talked about, we're going to get to Pat Cippolone in a minute because Pat Cippolone was Trump's lawyer and he was there sort of in the thick of all this. And they were saying they really wanted to get him to come in and testify. So we're going to jump to him in a minute. But before we get there, I want to just wrap this up because we have these two Secret Service agents who apparently can come in and tell us more. Tony Ornato, specifically about the lie, plus the two Secret Service agents who were in the vehicle. Okay, so we got three people that we can have conversations about to determine whether this is actually true, whether Cassidy is a liar or a misrememberer or Tony. Who wrecked the telephone game? The Secret Service people, Tony, or Cassidy? I don't know. But the goal, right, would be to subpoena them, bring them in. They're ready and willing to testify under oath. So on CNN now, they're asking that same question. We're going to get a little bit of sort of a setting of the stage here. It's a nice summary from this guy, I forget his name, before they turn into the question. And the question that comes up is really, are you hearing what this committee is intending to do? Are they going to go out there and demand these people come in and testify? Let's listen.
The January 6th committee also faces a will they or won't they moment. Former White House Deputy Chief of Staff Tony Ornato is at the center of that question. Ornato now attacking the credibility of some of what Cassidy Hutchinson testified to earlier this week. Specifically,
Tony's calling Cassidy a liar. Cassidy's calling Tony a liar. The committee is coming out and saying Tony's a liar, even though Tony has promised he's going to make himself available.
Ornato denies telling Hutchinson that Donald Trump lunged for the steering wheel.
So he denies it.
Of some of what Cassidy Hutchinson testified to earlier this week. Specifically, Ornato denies telling Hutchinson that Donald Trump lunged for the steering wheel inside the presidential SUV after being told on January 6th he could not go to the Capitol and could not join the rioters. Hutchinson stands by her account, and the committee says it is, quote, absolutely confident she is telling the truth. It is now weighing, though, whether to bring back Ornato, bring him back before the panel, under oath, and in public. Let's get up to CNN's Ryan Nobles up on Capitol Hill.
Why wouldn't they do it? Why wouldn't they do it, right? They have the power. They're subpoenaing everybody. I mean, they subpoenaed Sean Hannity for crying out loud. Sent him records. We want your text messages. Hey, Sebastian Gorka, we want your text messages. Hey, Ali Alexander, you're coming over here, right? The whole thing's ridiculous. So why would they not want to bring in Tony Ornato, this highly qualified, highly credentialed individual, to come out and rebut Cassidy Hutchinson? Why? Could it be because it would wreck their entire committee? probably. Let's go back to this and see what he says.
Ryan, a big question for the committee. Do they want to hash this out in public, or do they see that as too risky?
No, of course not.
And John, I think there's a lot of aspects of this investigation that fall under that banner. But with Ornato specifically, it's interesting just to what level the committee is interested in talking to him about. And do they want to ask him more questions beyond just this individual fracas that may or may not have occurred inside the presidential limo on January 6th? And Ornato and Bobby Engel, who was the head of that detail, also alleged to be a part of this incident that Cassidy Hutchinson told the committee, a story that she was told in and around that time, have both already sat for conversations with the January 6th Select Committee.
They already
talked.
talked.
Members have said that Ornato's version of what happened on that day differs from what Hutchinson said.
Yeah.
And they believe Hutchinson over Ornato at this point. But
they believe her over him because she gave him the answer that they want. She wasn't even near them, right? Like, she was far removed. So Tony says, I didn't tell you anything, lady. I didn't tell you that happened. You just made that up. That's what's happening here.
Secret Service has said that they are willing to let both of these individuals come before the committee again and testify under oath. Now, if they do that, John, that opens them up to answering questions on a whole host of things, not just this specific incident as well.
I'm sure they'll test that. They don't care.
And it's important to point out that the committee believes the most important part of that testimony is not whether or not Donald Trump lunged at that steering wheel or even potentially attacked a member of the Secret Service. It's that he wanted to go to the Capitol and he was angry about it. And there is no one disputing that fact up until this point. Now, as to whether or not this all plays out in public, if it does, it may not be for some time. It's clear the committee wants to have this conversation behind closed doors.
Yeah, they don't want you to see it.
And then they'll see if it takes the stage of being another public testimony. At this point, the committee has not really brought forward individuals or witnesses
total
that could be a little
scammers,
bit conflictual in an open setting. Ornato may fall under that category.
The biggest freaking scam ever. I mean, they're pre-interviewing witnesses and splicing and dicing and cutting and pasting evidence to present to the American people. They're doing these hearings behind closed doors. I mean, it's disgusting behavior in America. It's one political party weaponizing the U.S. government against another political party. And the committee, they have the people. They can bring in Tony Ornato. Just bring him in tomorrow. I mean, if it's so clear, bring him in and ask him some questions. Why does this whole thing have to be scripted out the wazoo? Well, it's because they are writing a narrative. They have to make sure the characters fit the story. And that's what is happening now. They're adding another additional subpoena that went out very recently. Pat Cippolone. We talked about previously Pat Cippolone. A little bit of background on this guy. He is an American attorney. He served as White House counsel for Donald Trump, age 56. Went to Fordham University, University of Chicago, got his JD. Worked for Donald Trump from 2018 to 2021. Father, Italian immigrant, shout out, says his mother was a homemaker, spent most of his time in the Bronx, northern Kentucky. White House, was there for a while. White House counsel 2018, succeeded Don McGahn. Role was the public face of the White House response into the impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump in 2019. Yeah. So he was a lawyer for the president, but was involved in a lot of this stuff. You can see here's the whole section on the committee. Now, we'll go to primary sources on this stuff. Here is the actual letter that the committee sent out to him. So this was 2 pages. They sent this right after Cassidy Hutchinson's terrible testimony. So now they're sort of panicking, right? They're going out there and they're trying to bring everybody's paper over this. We're going to now bring Pat in, and this would be like calling witnesses in the middle of a trial, right? The trial has already started. And you say, uh-oh, this is really going bad. Judge, can I call like 35 more people? And the judge says, yeah, sure. There's no rules here. Nobody cares about due process. Nobody cares about, any type of semblance of order in trial. Yeah, call whoever you want. No problem at all. And so that's what they did. They said, oh, it's January 29th. Our committee is going up in flames. What can we do? We better subpoena the counsel for the president. All right. So they write, Mr. Cippilone, pursuant to the authorities set forth, you see this here? House Resolution 503. They keep referencing the same House resolution under which they are operating illegally. Do you see how maddening this is? pursuant to the authority set forth in HR 503. It's like, hey, idiots, you're not even following. You're illegally constituted. You have no authority. What are you talking about? The Select Committee to investigate the J6 attack hereby transmits a subpoena that compels you to appear for deposition. You got to show up now on July 6th is what happened on this letter. Now, they may have said it. I think they said it for tomorrow, which will be July 8th. The committee is investigating the facts, circumstances, and causes. We've read most of this. We're examining the goal of the president to subvert the election and the attempted appointment of Jeffrey Clark. And so the committee wants a deposition. You better show up and have an interview. It said here, it says you previously sat for an informal interview on April 13th. As explained to you in that interview, the committee reserved the right to request additional testimony. In the weeks since, the committee has continued to obtain evidence about which you are uniquely positioned to testify. Unfortunately, however, you have declined to cooperate with us, including by providing on-the-record testimony. We are left with no choice but to issue the subpoena. Give us a call. Please contact us at 202-225-7800 at our useless garbage committee hotline, where we'll take your messages. Okay, so that is the letter that went out. And Cassidy Hutchinson, of course, talked about him. We already played that clip. There was some indication that he may have been somebody who was going to testify earlier. Okay, I think I clipped this some time ago. Yeah, it's pretty small. Breaking: Trump's former White House counsel, Pat Cippolone, is not only talking with the investigation, but they were saying that he was going to testify on Thursday night. So, right, he's sort of been in the wings for some period of time. And now we see, according to ABC News, that it looks like he has agreed now to a transcribed interview with the committee, saying the committee is going to have this interview on Friday, which of course is tomorrow from today. Former White House counsel has reached a deal with the committee. The transcribed interview will be videotaped, they say. Committee issued a subpoena. He was one of few aides with the president on the day of January 6th. Committee has frequently referenced Cippilone during the hearings. He was not expected to fight the subpoena following the order last week. Now, look, again, okay, this guy is Trump's lawyer. Almost everything should be protected by attorney-client privilege. Anything related to that conversation should all be protected. So if you're Pat Cippolone, you just sit there and you just say, oh, I can't answer that. I mean, that's attorney-client privilege. Well, what did Trump say to you? I can't answer that. I mean, that's obviously privileged. Thanks. Next question. Privileged. Next question. Privileged. Next question. The subpoena has been issued. He's been evaluated. He's going to show up there tomorrow. Sources previously told ABC News that the topics for testimony about which Cippolone on the committee had been negotiating are the actions taken by the DOJ, Jeffrey Clark, who is the man who almost wrecked America, how he was going to usurp America working with John Eastman and others. Cippolone has been one of the panel's most sought-after witnesses following last week's burner testimony from Cassidy. Hutchinson told the panel that Cippolone was fearful of the consequences of Trump's push into the Capitol, saying that he said something to the effect of, remember her? Something to the effect of, so did he say that? Yes or no? And if he did, that's also hearsay. So objection, stop talking. Now, this goes on, and you can see we'll learn more about this tomorrow, whether he, actually convenes with them or not. All right, it's to be seen. I'm sure he will. But whether we get to see the transcripts is a whole nother story. We do know that they are speculating that there are, well, we don't know how many additional hearings there are going to be, but another big one is coming up, I think, on the 12th. So that's going to be next week as well. 12th is Tuesday. So the next hearing will be on Tuesday. We'll see if they're able to splice and dice and incorporate any of that into their work. Now, similarly, let's hit this story real quick. I told you previously that we've been trying to understand what the end game is here for all of these J6ers. What do they want out of this? Well, Rep. Jamal Bowman talked about a civil war. We talked to this lady. I forget who this lady was. Who was this woman? Oh, yeah, this lady was Elizabeth Newman, Department of Homeland Security. She said that Trump voters are basically analogs to ISIS sympathizers. We just heard Liz Cheney speaking at the Lincoln Project Reagan Memorial speech, where she said that if you supported Trump, you oppose the Constitution, right? So basically saying that every single Republican who supported Trump is an insurrectionist. Well, now we're going to take a look at this. Elizabeth Warren sent some time ago. We'll hit this quickly because it's kind of financial and kind of boring. But she sent a letter last year, November 2021, writing to the the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, which is sort of the regulatory agency for a lot of financial transactions and whatnot. But as I've said, the reason why I'm sharing this one with you is because they're hitting Trump from every single angle, right? Every single angle. They're trying to take out his political base. They're trying to take out his private business. They're trying to go after his new businesses. They're decimating him from social media platforms. They are criminally prosecuting him for, his CFOs, grandkids got some school money or something, right? The list goes on and on and on. So now Elizabeth Warren is using the regulatory power of the SEC, or demanding as a sitting senator that they go and investigate Trump's private businesses. Okay, Trump in 2021 was not in office. He was not a sitting president at all. He's a private citizen. And here, Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, is screaming from the rooftops, who is demanding that the SEC go and investigate El Trumpo, saying, "Dear Chairman Gensler, I am writing recent reports indicating that DWAC, the Digital World Acquisition Corp., announced its plans to merge with Trump Media and Trump Technology Group, saying that they may have committed securities violations. I've been concerned for some time about the misaligned incentives with SPAC deals." And Elizabeth Warren is one of the most probably incompetent senators that we have. She talks about a lot of financial stuff. She talks about, like Bitcoin, like, using more energy than like Norway or something. I mean, these really weird things. And if you unpack it, it's like, oh, she's an idiot. Oh, I got it. That's why she said that. If you try to piece it all together, it's hard to make sense of. Oh, she's a moron. Yeah. But DWAC and Trump Media and the others have brazenly flouted these rules. And so she demands that, of course, the SEC go on and investigate themselves, saying the omission is enriching big investors, and the lack of core business model raises questions about how they're profiteering off the SPAC model, and so on. And it just goes on and on and on. Now, turns out the SEC is investigating them now because the SEC is filled with, as Elon says, a bunch of political hacks. Here, the SEC is investigating the truth. They link this article over from the Epoch Times, saying that Trump's social media company did in fact get subpoenaed by the Justice Department. Here, federal grand jury issued a subpoena. Trump and the Media Technology Group got one in Manhattan as part of a criminal investigation into a deal to go public via a special purpose acquisition company. Okay, so Elizabeth Warren sends a letter over to the SEC. You go and investigate my political enemies. And guess what happens? The SEC does it. TMTG is the parent company of Trump's Truth Social. In a security filing on July 1st, they said that they informed them, as we're going to see here, this is an SEC filing. Down here, item 801, other events. It says, as previously disclosed in the Digital Current World Reports Form 8 file, Digital World has been informed that it is the subject of an investigation pursuant to Section 8 with respect to a registration statement. Our due diligence, they want our communication, they want potential targets, and so on. We've been informed that they received a subpoena relating to these other documents, and they're going to work with them, and so on. So, right, they're disclosing this now. And we also learned, very interestingly, that Trump left the board of that same entity. So the Herald Tribune sent this in, and I think AM sent me this one today. Thank you, AM. You know who you are. The exclusive Trump left Sarasota, the company, weeks before the federal subpoenas ever came out. So there's some shuffling going around there in Trump world, but you can see how the federal government is now using the levers of power just to make his life considerably more miserable than they are already attempting to make it. So that is a quick Trump update. And now, lastly, we're going to jump over to some of the J6 criminal cases because we have a couple quick updates on some of these. Let's get the quick one out of the way first. So we'll knock out Proudboys, and then we'll take a look at Steve Bannon because he's got a trial coming up very soon. And he's got oral arguments about whether that trial is continued on Monday. So first and foremost, we've got a scheduling order that just came out in the Proudboys case. If you take a look at this, yesterday, 3 entries on the docket First, we've got a consent motion for an extension of time. A defendant wants more time to file a motion to reopen a detention hearing. So one Proud Boy is trying to get out of custody, and he wants to reopen a detention hearing so he can be released. There's also the thing that we're actually going to look at is this scheduling order. And this is the one that involves some of the more prominent defendants. Okay, Joseph Biggs, Ethan Nordine, Zachary Real, Enrique Tarrio, right? Enrique Tarrio is the guy who used to be a federal informant. There's still a lot of debate about his role in this. Apparently, somebody told me he was on Timcast and explained the whole thing. I haven't listened to it yet. But, interesting things going on with Enrique Tarrio. Let's just leave it at that. Has a history of being an FBI informant, as far as I know. And according to Reuters, which is where we got that. But on July 7th now, a minute order granting additional time. And then we see this. Set and reset deadlines and hearings. So we've got some major deadlines and hearings coming up throughout the rest of this year. But let's see if we can just piece some of this together from the scheduling order. All right. So this is where the court schedules sort of the framework for the foreseeable future. What's going to be happening in these cases? The court is letting us know. The defendants, they filed a motion to dismiss the third superseding indictment. All of those motions shall be filed by these dates. Okay, looking like October and September dates. Changing venue. If they want to move a venue, because the court knows they're probably going to do that. Responses are due and hearing shall take place in October. Okay, so we've got August, September, October. Government witnesses and a total disclosure of those. Those are going to be due by September. Witness lists, motions due in October. Okay, so we've got like a lot of time on this one. We've got several months before we start to see a lot of activity. Joint pretrial motions, October. Really what we're looking for is sort of a trial date so that we can see when the trial is going to be scheduled. Pretrial conference scheduled for November 18th. And here, in-person hearing on the motions. Any in-person hearing on that motion. Okay, so should be a trial date in here somewhere. Okay, so anyways, the point is, right, a lot of this stuff is not coming soon, but we will see more activity as things get closer to the trial date, which is exactly what we're seeing in the Bannon case. So let's jump over to Bannon now. This is the docket update that came out today. Over the weekend, over the kind of the long week, we had several motions. Most of these we've already talked about. We talked about the motion in limine, but today I want to go through a couple items. In particular, let's start here. We're going to skip over this. Let's start here. Remember, last time we talked about Bannon, we had a big update. Bannon is trying to continue his trial. His trial is scheduled for next week. No, I'm sorry, the 18th, which is not next week. It's about a week from Monday is when his trial is. We know that the January 6th committee is having their hearing on Tuesday next week. And they're probably going to have more hearings, which means the Steve Bannon trial is very likely going to be sandwiched in between a J6 committee hearing before and a J6 committee hearing after. And you might say to yourself, that's pretty weird. Steve Bannon has been the subject of this committee. His name has been used several times. This whole committee is about blasting Donald Trump and anybody who supported him. Steve Bannon was a pretty big, part of this. Pretty big Trumper from my recollection. So he's highly sort of the scapegoat. He's the subject matter of these hearings. So it might be unfair to have a trial against him in the same jurisdiction where this fake committee is dunking on him day and night, and where everybody in DC is glued to this story because that's all they care about. They don't care about anything else because they hate Donald Trump so much it blinds them to the rest of reality. But last time we had this update, we talked about this. There were several motions. We already covered Bannon's motion. This is what it looked like, just as a quick recap. It was a 16-page motion. We already read through this. I'm not going to go through it. But here it says, motion to continue trial, saying it's a violation of Bannon's constitutional rights if they do not continue it. The way this works is you have a Bannon files a motion, the prosecutor files a reply, and then the defense files a response to the reply, and then we have a surreply. Here, the surreply is the United States sort of layering on one final response, and they ask the court for permission to do this, saying that all of this is irrelevant and the trial really should stay put. saying he's trying to game a continuance because of a schedule, saying he's manufacturing this schedule, and the government really wants this case to go forward. We've already explained why this is, right? Steve Bannon is in this unique position because he has this open order to go show up and testify and give documents to the J6 committee. But if he doesn't do that, that's a criminal violation. That's why he's being charged with a crime. What happens when the Republicans are in charge of this committee and they say, we don't need you to come to testify in front of us anymore? We don't need that subpoena to be in effect anymore. Is there still a ripe criminal case? Is this still something that should move forward? Well, the defense attorney's argument is going to be, no, of course not. It's not a continuing crime. And it's not likely to be repeated because there's not going to be another stupid January 6th select committee, hopefully. So the court is going to issue a ruling on that on Monday. We'll know if Steve Bannon's trial is happening on the 18th or if it's going to get postponed, and they're going to have to unpack all of that. The other thing that we saw were filings from the Bannon defense about Mark Meadows and Dan Scavino. Now, taking a high-level overview on what we're talking about, remember that we've got sort of two types of criminal charges that are being prosecuted here. We have January 6 crimes, which are sort of actual crimes when people were there. And then we have process crimes, which are people that were not there on January 6th, but they are being charged and prosecuted for not cooperating with the investigation, right? They're rejecting subpoenas. And Mark Meadows and Dan Scavino were two people who were sort of in the purview. They were in the sights of the January 6th committee. And the question was, why did they not get charged? Why did Steve Bannon get charged, but not Mark Meadows? Why did Scavino get charged, but not Mark Meadows? Those were both Trump aides. There's all sorts of executive privilege rules and things that apply. And so they're saying, the defense is saying, we want to know the reason for the declination of the charges, right? Typically prosecutors, if they're going to say, well, we're going to, we submitted it to the grand jury, or we came to a charging decision, we had a conversation about this, and we marked the file, no charges, here's why. So that you have some consistency in your office, right? You don't want lawyers just going, no charges on this one. Because you're a prosecutor. What if a prosecutor is just like, well, I'm a lazy person. No charges. No charges. No charges. So maybe their boss wants to say, let me see all your declinations. Why are you declining so many different filings on this one? You lazy prosecutor, you? And so the defense is saying, how about we take a look at those declination letters so we can sort of piece together what's happening? Now, we talked a little bit about this, but let me sort of refresh our recollection on this one as well. This got filed some time ago, and I think we did actually read this. The defendant wants that letter from the prosecutors, and they say, look, recent media reports have said Mark Meadows and others are not being charged, and so we respectfully submit this request so that we can get copies of those declinations. The prosecutor came out and they filed this response. This one came back 2 days after their filing. And we also talked about this one briefly, saying that they don't have to produce that letter. They don't have to tell Steve Bannon why they declined prosecution on this. They don't have to get into any of that. So they're saying, we're not going to do it. Today, we saw a new filing come out from Bannon's defense. Actually, this was on the 6th, and it's 11 pages, but it is the reply to the response. Okay, so like I said, these things are sort of like sandwiched into each other. One side goes first, the other gets one on top. So the moving party goes first, the non-moving party responds, and then you get a reply on top of that. Here, the reply says the following. On June 27th, we already filed a motion. I showed you that one. On June 29th, the government responded. I showed you that one. In his motion, Bannon asserted that the materials at issue must be produced, right? You've got Brady requirements and Giglio obligations, meaning if the government has something in their file that is exculpatory or that is disclosable, they've got to disclose it. They say the government response misses the thrust of Bannon's motion in every regard, and they have a fundamental misunderstanding of his defense, saying these materials are discoverable. Court has already issued rulings on this, saying that they only reflect, he says here, the deliberative process. He goes into some case law, so I'm not going to get into any of this. But what the prosecutor was saying is, look, you can't get access to sort of our inner thoughts, our inner workings. And the defense is saying, perfect, I'm not getting those. I'm getting your declination, which is different. And he's distinguishing that through the case law. We see that if the declination materials are relevant because it could be Brady or Giglio material. We see another headline, sort of a subcomponent as we scroll down, signed off on by Evan Corcoran. And this is saying that we want the motion to compel to be granted. The way this worked is the Bannon defense, they filed sort of nicely. Remember, they said, well, we'd like it if you just gave it to us. They sent a friendly letter and they said, no, we're not going to give it to you. And they said, if you don't give it to us, we're going to file a motion to compel. And they said, that's fine, go do that. And so that's where we're at. Saying, Judge, we tried to be friendly with them in order to get this material, but they are not giving it to us. And so now we're asking you to compel them to give it to us. We can see the court scheduled oral arguments on Monday, July 11th, 10 a.m. So certainly we'll have a pretty big Steve Bannon update on Monday because they're ruling on motions 83, 84, 85, 86, and 88. Five big substantive motions will be decided on that day, including whether or not trial will be taking place just one short week afterwards on July 18th, which of course will be the Bannon trial. Presiding is Judge Carl J. Nichols. And I believe Amanda Vaughn. Yeah, Amanda Vaughn is going to be the prosecutor in this case. And of course, we will cover that intensely. And I hope you join us. Now that, my friends, is it for the content. We're going to jump into your thoughts, your questions, your comments next. But we covered a lot of ground today. We talked about the Proudboys, about their new filing. Steve Bannon's got oral arguments on Monday. We did a deep dive, a quick overview on some of the Trump indictment stuff, the grand jury subpoenas flying over towards his companies. And then we really unpacked and rebutted some of the January 6th scam sham committee's attempts to shove a lie down America's throat, recognizing that it sounds like even the J6 committee themselves are not going to be asking hard questions in front of the American public because we know they're not going to like the answers. We also talked about Pat Cippolone. He's scheduled tomorrow to sit down with the J6 committee for a recorded interview with transcripts, and we're going to have to see if we get any of those. But that, my friends, is it. And now it's time to hear from you. Let's jump over to our questions and comments over from watchingthewatchers.locals.com, over on YouTube as well. I see Stace on the case. Our brand new mod, Lean, is now holding the fort down. Shout out to Lean. Kevin G is here. JB Bass Sr., John Apocalypse. Over on Locals, we've got JC the Music Man. Former LEO's here now. Jason on Blast, CA, is here. On Rumble, we've got Matra Kundalini, Vianticus Prime, of course, Larry 1, Orange Man, Gators Bait, chatting away on Rumble. And so let's jump into some of these questions, shall we? Scrolling all the way down. First up on the list is Jason on Blast on NCA. Rob, I swear all the shenanigans that the Democrats are doing are so illegal and without any moral values or ethics of anyone I want in control of my country. It gives me a massive headache. The WEF. OMG. I know, it's bad news. It's bad news. I have a Georgia Guidestones short coming out later tonight. And that is, yeah, scary stuff. Ed J says, I would think that even if the Shifty Shift Act was to put into law, it could be easily revoked. Schiff is obviously protecting himself. I've heard something to the effect of that Schiff has not spoken a true word since birth, and I contend he started the BS before that. That's probably very accurate. You know, I heard something to the effect of that too there. Yeah, you know, we could talk a lot like that. I could say like and like ums and something to the effect of. I mean, we all have our filler language. We all do. Grouchy old cat lady says, what the Dems using the military for they don't want us to know about? Yeah, it's a good question. All sorts of interesting things going on, aren't there? I'd like to get a lot of access to that data. Good to see you, grouchy old cat lady. Thunder7 says, Rob, I have no questions regarding Cassidy since she's a proven liar. But since it's a kangaroo court, nothing will happen to her. But I wanted to ask you about the Derek Chauvin, who was given a 21-year sentence for violating Floyd's civil rights. Is this an additional sentence on top of the other charge? I don't know, so I haven't looked into it. Probably not, I would guess. I'd say they're probably going to give him credit for time served. You know, like they'll probably run it concurrently with his other sentence, I would guess. But I haven't looked it up, so I don't know. I'm just wondering if Trump can pardon him when he returns. Yes. He hasn't mentioned it, but I'm sure he feels Chauvin did not get a fair trial. He didn't. Would Trump have the power to pardon Chauvin is what I want to know. Yeah, right? Yeah, I think he can. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he can. Is there yes, he can. In this one, he definitely can because those civil rights charges were federal crimes. Right? But yes, I think he can pardon him. Does the presidential pardon power? One second. I got to look this up while we're here. I can't let this one go. All right. Here's pardon information and instructions. US DOJ, federal convictions only. All right, so here. Yeah, that's what I thought. Under the U.S. Constitution, only federal convictions like those adjudicated in district courts may be pardoned by the president, right? So he cannot do it. So he can't do this for Chauvin's Minnesota case. The president pardon power extends to convictions in superior courts of D.C. and military. However, the president cannot pardon a state criminal offense. Accordingly, if you're seeking clemency, complete it and submit this petition. Contact your governor or other locations, right? This comes from the DOJ website. So, yeah. Yeah, that one always, there's some things that I always have to like look up because I can't remember. You know, those things like they go either way. But that I always, yeah, so that makes sense. Okay. So thank you for that question. That came over from Thunder. And another one from Resident Bedoin says, the narrative is falling apart for Botch Cassidy and the Some Dunce kids. Botch Cassidy and the Some Dunce kids. Oh, she's just in the corner with a little dunce hat on. The Democrats and the J6 committee's tricky tactics show they have a clear understanding of their supporters. They do. They know their audience, don't they? That's from Tessa Michelle. We got Thunder 7 says, not so fast, Rob. Maybe Cassidy is delusional. Maybe she cracked when Trump rejected her, when she begged to join the staff at Mar-a-Lago. Maybe she believes the fairy tales she tells herself to make her feel important, you know, like AOC, who claimed she was attacked during January 6th when she wasn't even in the building. Cassidy said she was terrified before January 6th, and maybe she believes Trump is Batman. Either she's mentally ill or getting paid off by the Dems, but she doesn't know and doesn't fool anyone. It's absolutely disgusting how they keep smearing people's names who are totally innocent, like Ornato, Bannon, and Trump. No doubt about it. Zach Nichols says, Hutchinson's body language tells all, in my opinion. I'm furthest from a lawyer or cop, but look at her blinking. She's trying not to look up or down so hard. Viantika says, Rob, just in case you didn't see it yesterday, following up on this one, the counter signal. Oh, is this the Netherlands follow-up? Yes. So I think I did see this one. Yeah. Follow-up yesterday. So Viantika shared this over at thecountersignal.com. So check them out. Says, we talked about this story yesterday. In the Netherlands, they shot at a 16-year-old kid who apparently was driving this tractor, and it was not justified, right? Look at these cops. They're not anywhere. He's not going at them. He is literally driving on this curved roadway, and they start shooting into the side of the car. Nobody can figure out why they fired. He wasn't trying to hurt him. It's just angry cops who are just lunatics shooting at their own citizens because they're insane, right? And that's what's taking place over there to our poor friends in the Netherlands. And this is going to be a very consequential problem. Let me pause on this. We're going to take a quick tangent on this. There is a very intelligent individual, goes by the name of Tucker Max. And I know some of you might be, remembering him as an author who wrote a sort of a raunchy novel and all of this. The dude is a genius. Okay, so just leave it at that. Now, let me share this with you. So I'm going to pull up this article. Actually, it's a tweet thread that he posted. If you're not following Tucker Max on Twitter, you should be. But here's what he posted yesterday. 7:06 a.m. We talked about this at the conclusion. Yesterday, we talked about the Netherlands story. I did not see this until today, but man, it's brilliant. He says, 6 months ago, I talked about the coming chaos. I called it managed decline, and many people didn't understand. Here's an example of what I mean, and a warning. The Dutch farmer strike and resulting forced starvation. If you haven't heard of this yet, buckle up. Dutch farmers started to strike because the government cut nitrogen, stealing farmers' land and is putting them out of business. He says, no, really. Summarizes it. Dutch farmers reacted the way you'd expect. They got pissed and protested. The Dutch government is now trying to kill them. No, really. Okay, and he links that video where that cops are literally shooting at kids. Another video of Dutch violence. He links the same video, but there was another one. He says, this is big. It goes way beyond the politics of a small European country. The Dutch are the world's second biggest ag exporter, which we talked about yesterday. Why'd the Dutch government do this? To meet EU climate goals. He says, seriously, unelected bureaucrats made up the numbers, and here we are. They know this is going to starve people around the world, okay? They know it. How can I say that for sure? They're already trying to justify and rationalize it. Look at this. It's on the UN's website. The UN tells us, and I think somebody linked this yesterday. Oh, they deleted it. Oh, the benefits of world hunger. They deleted it. So let's see if like Web Archive has it. Hold on. Web Archive. I think the Wayback Machine. Let's see if they snag this for us. Do we have this? Trying to find it because they deleted it, right? These people. They deleted the benefit of world hunger article. All right, I can't find it at the moment, but it was up, right? He linked it. They deleted it because they don't want you to see it. The benefits of world hunger is what the article said. And this is not remotely the end. It's only the beginning, saying there's going to be carbon food labels that are going to be coming. Here's what they mean. They're going to limit how much food you can eat. Of course, they keep trying to sell people on eating bugs. This is my favorite propaganda about this so far. Mind-blowing to watch the brazenness of this. It says it's here. It's happening. Believe it or not, let me be very clear. If you don't have food stored or grow your own food, you're going to be in big problems. He says, I think America is going to resist this much better than most. Why? 2 reasons. Number 1, armed citizens. Here it is. Armed citizens who are able to defend against this, and our size and political structure make this sort of control hard. But they're going to try some of this here. Can you produce it or not? Right? Not good. Scary, scary threat. Here's more violence, right? The Dutch police shooting their own citizens. Like a bunch of lunatics, right? So thank you for the little bit of a tangent there. That was it's kind of a scary thread. But that was over from V. Anticus, who gave us the follow-up. Thank you, V. Here, this one is from Justin. Says, thanks for the Nancy Pelosi fun bag short. Totally made my day. Top-notch material. Well, thank you, Jay Heath. I appreciate that. You know, I posted on our morning walk and talk this morning that the Nancy Pelosi fun bag, it's a little bit lowbrow, right? I mean, even for me, I mean, you know, it's kind of low, but I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad that you did too, Justin. I was having fun making that video. You know how many times I said Nancy Pelosi's fun bags here before I got it right? I was like laughing, like giggling like a schoolgirl because they were, you know, way over budget. She is a big spender. But my goodness, man, you got to rein it in. Somebody's got to get that budget under control. Thank you for that, Jay Heath. I appreciate you. Let's jump over to locals. I saw a couple to YouTube. I saw a couple super chats come in. Lava Java Lava is in the house and says, I nominate Lean as our new cat-friendly mod, which is it's already been done. Lava, it's done. It's done. Cat-friendly mod. We love cats here. We absolutely do. We have K Bean says, and Playin' Hooky should be an honorary member of YouTube, and Lean should be a mod. That came from K Bean as well. Thank you, K Bean. Playin' Hooky should be an honorary member of YouTube. So yes, so I have not. I forgot to do that. So how do I? Let me see if I can just try something here. No. So I still have not figured out how to I'm wondering if I can buy these to gift because I can't see anything from my YouTube studio. Hang on a minute. Create a highlight video, add a marker. No. It does say that I can insert ads now. So I can insert ads into the middle of the stream. I'm not going to do that right now, but I'm going to try that at some point. But yeah, okay. So I'm going to have to figure that out because I'd like to be able to sort of gift away some memberships to YouTube, but I do have to pay for them, right? If I gift a membership, like if you gift somebody a membership, I haven't figured out how to do it. They just turned it on this week, but you have to pay for it. It doesn't work like on locals. On locals, I can scholarship you, and I don't have to come out of pocket. But on YouTube, I can't do that. So, unfortunately, because they want their money, don't they? They're not going to let me just give you all free memberships. No way. No way. They're not going to do it. All right. So here, Vientikis. Man, Vientikis is just Johnny on the spot. Total money in the bank. Here is the act. See, he knows how to use that website. I didn't know how to do it. So he's pulling that up for us. But he also says, here's a conspiracy theorist being right again. And so while that's loading, let me open this one. Vientikis says, yep, here. Vientikis posted this 16 hours ago. Banks across China are experiencing collapse, and billions in deposits are being vanished from the Bank of China. Vientikis sharing 2 videos on our locals community from 16 hours ago. Here is the article, right? This is over from, look at this. They deleted it. They deleted it. The benefits of world hunger. The benefits. They're starving people out, right? And I talked to you. I said that David Friedberg on the All In podcast made this point. You don't have to be a world economic finance or whatever, guru to figure this out. We looked on Wikipedia. Ukraine, massive exporter of food, massive wheat in particular. Here, the Netherlands, number 2 in the world, wrecking their industry, and simultaneously the UN telling us the benefits of world hunger. We sometimes talk about hunger in the world as if it were a scourge that we all want to see abolished. But that naive view prevents us from realizing, coming to grips with what causes and sustains hunger. Hunger has great positive value to many people who are starving and dying around the world. Indeed, it is fundamental to the working of the world's economy. Hungry people are most productive, especially when there is a need for manual labor. You see that? So you just let those poor people starve, okay? Because we need them to dig our ditches and build our houses and do all of this stuff. So we just got to keep them hungry. Because if they're fat and well fed, they're not going to work as hard, right? Really got to make sure that they want it. We in developed countries sometimes see poor people by the roadside holding signs that will say work for food. Actually, most people work for food. It's mainly because people need food to survive. Most importantly, how many of us would sell our services so cheaply if it were not for the threat of hunger, right? I mean, it's true, I guess. I mean, that's all why we work, I guess. It's so that we can feed ourselves. I mean, honestly, right? But that's true. Right? We have needs. We have to breathe oxygen and drink water and consume calories in order to survive. So they're not wrong. I mean, we do work so that we can have a house and electricity and internet and other things, Food is a part of that list. I guess it's true. But I'm not justifying it. I'm not justifying the decimation of agriculture throughout the globe because it's good for cheap labor and productivity. These people are sick. These people are sick. And I talked about this on our morning walk and talk in the Georgia Guidestones. What they are talking about, saying that human people are like cancers on this planet. Number 10 on the Georgia Guidestones was, be not a cancer on the planet. Okay, looking at a little baby that comes out and saying, this is a cancerous, infested, just disgusting tumor on Mother Earth. Look at this little creature, disgusting. Saying that people are cancers. And that, a population needs to be dropped under 500 million people in order to save the planet. And one way to do that is to starve people out, starve people to death, which apparently is what is literally happening right now. So absolutely disgusting stuff. And I think it's very important that you are forewarned about that. I think that Tucker Max and articles like that are very, very scary, very, very important to know, though, and keep on your radar. Here over on YouTube, K Bean. Oh my goodness, K Bean was dropping bombs before the show even started. K Bean says, I nominate Play and Hooky for a free YouTube membership, so I'm looking at that one. I nominate Vientikis for a free YouTube and Lean as well, and Play and Hooky for moderators. Okay, and I nominate Lava Java Lava as a moderator, as we'll have some on vacation. Okay, it's done and done. Lava Java, Play and Hooky, Done. Consider it done. Let's see who we have here. Let's just take care of this right now. Otherwise, I'm going to forget. Well, I don't. Hey, Playing Hooky, say something in the chat. And hey, Lava Java, say something in the chat so I can mod you up. And then I'm going to look into, there's Lava. What's up, Lava? Okay, and then Vientikis is going out of town for 2 weeks, man. We're going to be naked. It's going to be really weird around here. All right, so Lava Java is in the house. Boom! And now we're looking for Playing Hooky number 1. Where's Playing Hooky? We may have to catch him later. But Vientikis is going to be on vacation. I'm very happy for Vientikis. We all need a little vacay time from time to time. Thank you, K-Bean. K-Bean, very generous with those donos. And thank you for keeping this train on the tracks over here, telling me what needs to happen in order to keep this show rolling. John McGarvey with the super chat. No question, but thank you, John. I appreciate that one. K-Bean says, Lean should be a mod. Definitely is. Lava Java is in the house. Got that one. Curtis Bartle for membership for his excellent craftsmanship of the gavel. Okay, so that's Curtis Bartle. All right. Curtis Bartle. So it's hard for me because I know the gavel creator as George, right? On locals. So it's hard to, I have to know 2 names for people. So awesome. All right. So Curtis Bartle. All right. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Otherwise I'm going to forget all these names. Hold on. Screenshotting right now. Done. Boom. Thank you, K Bean. Let's do one more over here so I can see all this. All right, my friends. And then Ray K says, Rob rocks. Honk, honk. Thank you, Ray K. I appreciate that. The honking will continue until freedom improves. And Ray K just became a member for 6 months. So that's outstanding. And what that means is Ray K is going to get access to our master member my. Oh, can you speak, Rob? Can you keep it together here? You got like a little bit left. The member Mastermind, which is an evergreen piece of content that you can watch anytime you want. A lot of good knowledge in there, available for all the members on YouTube and on locals. You also get the morning walk and talks, which are super cool. I think you get access to some free courses and things that I've created. So check that out. Thank you, Ray K. Molly Dolly says, even if they never admit that Cassidy Trump lied, do you think now they realize it possibly backfired? Yes, Molly. Yes, I think they know it backfired pretty badly, which is why they are in utter panic mode about patching over it, right? Pat Cippolone, others, they have the committee out there hitting the airwaves, going out there saying, we stand by Cassidy. But they don't want to bring Tony Ornato in. They don't want to bring Engels in to testify, is what it sounds like, even according to CNN. So, yeah, I think they know this is a big, big boo-boo for them. And there he is. There's Playing Hooky number 1. Boom, got it. I was looking out of the corner of my eye. All right, so Playing Hooky's now in the house. Shout out to Playing Hooky. We have here back on locals, Vientikis giving us a little bit more, says, those 2 videos are news reports from China where money in people's bank accounts wasn't accessible because of technical issues, right? These technical issues went for a long time, and when the people went to get their money or protest, their health status on their smartphones turned from green to red. Some were detained on the way there, and I believe people that showed up got into a clash with the police. Not sure on the last part, but something went down. That is sick, yeah. And they want to do that here, right? They actually want to sort of, I think, transition a lot of us over to the US dollar, CBDC, whenever that comes out, so that they can do that type of stuff right here. Turn off your credit score. Former LEO says, what would it take to withdraw from the UN and NATO? They need us a lot more than we need them. I don't think much. Congress, an act of Congress, right? You might see something like that as people recognize what a joke these institutions actually are. And that was the last one. Heather is here. Hey, Heather's here. 3 Girlies is in the house. Says, maybe you should tell everybody about law enforcement training and existence systems. You haven't talked about them in a long time. That's true. We haven't. You're right. I haven't, Heather. And 3 Girlies is here along with the youngest of the girlies. So shout out to the youngest of the girlies. Hopefully you're having an amazing day along with your oldest of the girlies, Heather, in the house. Shout out to the 3 Girlies families. Yeah. So on locals, yeah, I think I have links over to my law enforcement interaction training, which I am going to redo, which is kind of why I haven't talked about it too much, Heather, is I'm going to redo it. I've got a lot more to add to it. I actually sort of want to turn it into maybe a book or a pamphlet as well. I've got some ideas about it, but I bought the 123rule.com, which I now own, which I'm super excited about. And the law enforcement interaction training is the 1-2-3 rule for dealing with police. Easy. 3 rules. 1, 2, 3. Boom. If you know those 3, you got it. It's for dealing with questions. It's for dealing with searches. It's for dealing with lawyers, right? Access to lawyers. 3 rules. Very easy. So I'm going to be reshooting that course, and I'll make that available, of course, at a discount or something. I'll figure that out. But that, my friends, is it for us for the day. Thank you to all of you who are supporting the work that we're doing here. Lava Java Lava sent in a super chat. Thank you, Lava. And welcome to the Mod Squad. I appreciate you. Very grateful to have you. Lava's been around forever, and I'm glad that you're here. Maggie LB with a very generous dono as well. But no question, thank you to Maggie LB for supporting the work. All of our supporters on Locals, all of our supporters on YouTube. Stace on the Case is a member. And Wild Child is a member. Curtis Bartle is a member. Hey, Curtis Bartle is here. Curtis Bartle says, no, I don't have 2 names. Yeah, George Krause. No, he does not have 2 names. George. Yeah, George, I thought did the gavel, right? I'm pretty sure George did the gavel. Yeah, and so, all right. And so that, my friends, is it for us for the day. Shout out to our friends on Rumble, Dog Digger, Orange Man, Gatorbait, Larry 1, CW Cats, Buffering 1, says, peace, guys. Good night. Later one. Later, guys. Everybody is wrapping up the program there. Jason on Blast, Resident Bedoin. We've got B Spec. We have Zach Nichols over on Locals, all chatting away and saying hello. And then on YouTube, we're wrapping it up with Holy F, my S stinks. We have AX. John Apocalypse is in the house. We have Shane Sousa. Miguel Labra is here. Hello, Miguel. Zorro, Mads, the one that got away, and others. And that, my friends, is it for us. Want to give a final shout out and thank you to our major Spotlight supporters. This is where we get to share some real estate here at the end of the show. Some screen real estate to support each other's works. Shout out to qsimple.com. Please go check out them and John. Great work there. Chris Romero, David B3, and Dr. EMB in the house. Been around for a long time. Thank you to everybody for supporting the work that we do at that Spotlight level support. If you're a Spotlight amount supporter on Locals, if you want some screen real estate, if you want a link to a social media profile, to a YouTube channel, if you want to promote your business, easy to do it. We can support each other's work here on the Screen Real Estate. And of course, I'll invite you one final time to join one of our communities. Subscribe if you are not already subscribed. I'd love it if you liked this video, shared it with a friend or family member so you can help the channel grow and get this sort of the message out to more people who I think need to hear it. And I appreciate your support in helping us do that. Final reminder, our law firm is what we do when we're not here on the program hanging out together. I spend most of my days helping good people charged with crimes find safety, clarity, and hope through my team and through the work that we do at the R&R Law Group. And your referrals really keep us striving ahead. So if you have anybody that you know or love who's charged with a crime in the state of Arizona, our office is at 480-787-0394. You can schedule an appointment online. We're very passionate about the work that we do, and I appreciate you supporting us also. But that, my friends, is it for us for the day. And so we are going to leave it right there. We'll very likely be back here to do it again tomorrow. I have sort of a full afternoon tomorrow, but I'm going to try to do a show. I'm looking forward to it. I want to thank you for being here, for all of the great questions, all of the great support. It really does mean the world. I'm going to leave it there, my friends. Have a tremendous evening. Sleep very well. I'll see you all right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.